disappointing defeat against Brisbane. You're able to get a really good bounce out of the players the following week.
Yeah.
How can you recreate that and make sure the spirit's high?
Well, I think we've just got to embrace where we're at, Drew. To be honest, we've got to use that energy, where we're at, to understand what it is we've got to put into our game. So we felt our first quarter and a half, maybe to half time, we were in a reasonable position. Had some opportunities to control the ball better, and some poor skill, poor decision making, hurt us, and good teams turned the ball over really quickly. So, we think there were still some things that we learnt that we can bring into our game this week.
What can you initially just do off the bat to make sure it's a more competitive performance for longer?
Well, we've got to sustain the effort, don't we? Really, that's the main thing. Contested ball was pretty good. Front half, pressures have been around the mark pretty consistently for us. So, but you've got to have the right pressure at the right time, to be able to turn the ball over in our front half and retain the ball in that front half. That's what we're searching for. So it's the sustainability, and it's the bringing the level of effort that's required for 4 quarters.
Does it come to a point? Does it come to a point where you address things like outside commentary with the players, maybe encouraging them to shut it out? Or?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Just staying internal, staying to the belief of what we're trying to do as a footy team. I guess it's using that energy. I mean, we all understand we're in the spotlight, no more than the players. I mean, they're pretty socially active. Players are socially active nowadays. So, we would just ask them to not embrace that, in the sense of taking recognition of what that's, but knowing that it's there and trying to use that energy to our advantage.
How about you personally? How hard is it to block it out when there is so much going around in the background about your future, about inviting a football club?
Yeah, look, to be honest, I'm just here every day trying to help our players and our club get better. I've been around the block a few times. I've certainly experienced some difficult positions, whether you look at the COVID scenario, whether you look at, unfortunately, the Phil Walsh scenario. So I've experienced some really tough times. For me, I embrace and I welcome the challenge to continue to get us better.
I know we had a pretty firm assurance from Ben here in this exact spot a few weeks ago, funnily enough, regarding your job. Have you sought further assurances?
No.
Feeling okay with where everything's at?
Yeah, no, look, as I was sort of saying, and I'm certainly very reflective and open to feedback that will make us better and certainly make me coach better, whether that's through some external mentors that I have, whether that's some feedback internally. I'm certainly open and embracing that feedback that will make me a better coach. But as far as my position, no, I haven't sought clarity on that at all.
Have you thought about whether you need, Jeff Walsh is here temporarily. Do you need a sort of a Jeff Walsh / Neil Baum, sort of that sort of wise old head in your football department?
Oh, I'm not sure that's my call, to be honest.
But do you feel that you need it? Not whether
No,
it's
look,
call,
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
I don't feel that, Dan's new into it, but very experienced in football.
Yeah.
Myself, I haven't coached for very long. I've coached a lot and been around for a long period of time. I've got some really experienced coaches on board as well. So I feel we're in a pretty good position. Now, whether or not the review determines that, I guess will be up to the discussion that Jeff may have with the board.
Yep.
We've had the first full week with Jeff here. How has it been working with you? How involved has he been with the football department?
Not very. Look, the limited conversation, I've caught up with him. Jeff's going about his business as he needs to. He's trying to stay as innocuous as he can. And I'm just bumping in, saying good day, and then just getting on with things. So,
do you expect him, sort of in those chats, to become more heavily involved, be part of footy?
Don't know. I'm not privy to Jeff's overall requirement, and I'm say good day and try and get on with what we're doing.
What is it that you see, David, that gives you the confidence that it is salvageable? In terms of the light at the end of the tunnel, what gives you that confidence?
I think we've got some great talent. Like we've missed some of our senior players. Like we've really missed Ben. We haven't mentioned that a lot this year, but we've missed the stability of those guys playing regularly. I think if you go back and have a look at some of our injuries through the year, that then helps the young guys grow. The young players come through in the manner that they probably need to. So what gives me hope is that the fact you're able to still play those young guys, they're dealing with tough, hardened opposition from time to time, but I mean, you guys can hear them. The energy for me is still here. I think they've still got a willingness to come to work each day and want to get better, as our coaches and our staff do. So we are at a point where, as I said, you embrace those opportunities in adversity to learn a lot about yourself and collectively as a group, and you use those learnings to move forward. That's why I'm still really positive about the future.
And do you need to target some more senior players then moving forward just to help this young group?
Well, potentially, that's the gap, isn't it? The gap at the moment for us is that 23 to 28-year-old bracket. So, yeah, from a list management perspective, that's certainly been an issue for us to have, conversations around. Where our strategy lands, we'll work that through in the next few weeks.
And sort of going a bit younger than that, priority draft pick, do you have any thoughts there?
Well, there's a mechanism there.
Yeah.
I mentioned that last year. We were really strong and still are that we wouldn't require that because we'd like to have our wins stand up, and be enough to show that that's where we're at. That hasn't transpired. I can only go back to my experience with Brisbane that the conversations that I had with the AFL over a couple of years, so it wasn't just 1 year, was just keeping them in the loop and informed as to where your progress was and how you were trying to build your way through where you were in the circumstances. So we had some unofficial conversations with the AFL last year. I don't know whether or not the club started that or has had any of that at the moment. But that may well come under our radar in the next couple of weeks for sure.
Did you mention
in terms of alignment, do you feel everyone's still on the same page in terms of exactly where you're at and the amount of patience and hard work that's required to get to where you want to go?
Yeah.
Do you feel everyone's still aligned on the same page?
Yeah, I do, Drew. I mean, I've got to take responsibility at the end of the day for the team not performing at the level, certainly from conceding score. Like, that's certainly on the coaching side and certainly stops with me. So we get that. But as far as the patience, the time, I still feel we're aligned. I still feel those conversations are very much where they were at the beginning of last year when I first arrived. It's not pleasant, it's not palatable at the moment, we totally get that, but we are working really hard internally to make sure that we know exactly where we're at and to try to continue to improve each week.
Dave, what about some criticism that potentially maybe there's some mixed messaging, like from the start of the game to the end of the game, there's some mixed messaging from some areas of the media. Are the players confused about exactly what they're doing?
No. I understand the criticism because sometimes when you work on things like defence, if you're looking to try to implement a new style of defence, if some players are able to activate it at a point in time and others can't, the players will look like out there that they're possibly a bit confused. I understand that, but that's certainly not the sentiment of the feedback that I've had from the players.
What about, you mentioned before, you've been part of situations, clubs in the spotlight before and situations of crisis.
Yeah.
How concerned are you, given your vast experience in football, when we've got suggestions about the AFL potentially becoming involved at sort of higher levels? We've got members coming out as they have this week against the board. Just that sort of volatility off the field. How concerning is that for you?
Look, we understand the spotlight. I think you need clarity and you need calmness at these points in time. That's my experience. To be really clear, to Drew's point, that you're very collectively united on where you're going, that the plan is sound. And it's, can you change it? Can you improve it? Can you adapt it? You can always reflect, as individuals or as groups to be able to be better. Someone like Jeff coming in, I've said before that if Jeff's able to offer some advice where we can continue to improve, we'd be silly not to consider that. So I think that calmness and that clarity becomes really important at these points in time. And as I said, we understand the spotlight, but we will just continue to make our club great again.
And what would be your message to supporters who are seeing this?
Hang in there. I think they've been unbelievable. I mean, the people that I bump into, probably don't bump into too many that are not going to, have encouragement, but they've been unbelievable. They've been fantastic to just be there to support us. Look, they are feeling the pain as much as we are. There's no doubt about that. They are as loyal as all get out. They showed that through the COVID period. We've had 2 record memberships in the last 2 years, so they understand and they know how difficult it is, but they've stuck really fat, and we just asked them to keep sticking with us.
We spoke a few weeks ago about former greats of the club. The door would be open, the phone's on. I know Wayne Carey was critical of yourself again on the weekend. Has there been sort of any progress on that front with former players wanting to come and be a part of it?
I've spoken to a few past players around the place. I haven't spoken to Wayne, but look, again, I'm still in a situation where we're happy to continue to try to look at things that are going to make us improve. If that allows us to be more united as a football club, past players, past officials, yeah, absolutely, we'll be open to that.
Do you take note of his comments when he's saying things about you?
Look, I'll take note of anyone that I feel is going to allow me to be better. So if there are things, I don't listen, read, every article or piece that's in the media. But yeah, if there are people out there that, we feel have good information and good insights as to where you might improve, yeah, we'd be silly to not consider it. I worked with Neil Craig for a long period of time, and he was very much of the same adage. If there are people who have great football knowledge and experience out there that can help you become better, you'd be silly not to listen to them.
You've had to pick a stronger team this week.
Yeah, we'll see how a couple get through training today. We've got a couple of sore bodies from the weekend, so we'll wait to get through today and see where training lands at the end of it. But yeah, we might have a couple coming back in, certainly back into contention.
Will Jason Francis play at second level, do you think?
Not sure yet, mate. We want to get through training. Taran, Aidan Bonner, CJ, Cal Coleman-Jones played really well on the weekend again. So yeah, there's some issues around there. We've got a lot of work to do in selection this week.
Sorry, is Jack Taylor definitely back?
Yeah, looks like he'll be, again, if we can get him through today and no one pokes him in his face, we'll probably be okay.
What is the consideration with Jason? Is it about getting confidence at the VFL level, or is it the 2 weeks off you need to get?
Well, it's actually been 3.
3 weeks off.
So he's had the bye, then a couple of weeks off. He's trained really hard, so we just need to see what level he trains at today.
Where will you start Ben Mackay? Because it wasn't the world's worst idea, but it helps
Thanks.
it helps.
Yeah.
It helps if they.
Yeah, we thought it was okay.
It helps if they kick it to him and don't keep kicking across full back and inviting the cats in.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mentioned, I think post game we'd had Tom Lynch that had done some work with Ben, who came back into match committee and said, look, he moves really well as a forward. So we still think that door's open. Again, you might see him, if you're here today, you might see him play both ends of training to see where we're at. So we're not quite sure.
But especially with Darcy Moore out, is it
possibly,
something worth trying to explore again?
Possibly, yeah. If it's a hyper flex, then sometimes you can actually play off those. If he's just hyperextended that knee, you can actually get back up. So, but yeah, it's a consideration if Darcy's out to keep Ben forward. That's certainly a consideration.
Todd Goldstein had a scan earlier in the week. Is he one of those sort of guys?
Little bit, yeah, but I mean he's just a workhorse, isn't he? Like he's just so reliable and consistent. I don't think Todd's under a cloud at all. It's just a precautionary scan through early part of the week. A lot of those guys go through some of that, and sometimes it's a little bit more of the older guys just to give them a check-in, because you've got history with previous injuries. You can line those up with where they're currently at with some of those old injuries.